All right, we got a fancy topic here today. Um, Controversial topic. Going to be interesting to have a little talk on this topic. So it's should you maximize your chip EV or your hourly?
Hmm.
And does your own personality influence this decision? So I'll give my opening kind of thoughts here, and then we'll pass to you, Scott.
Hmm.
Opening thoughts are I have some very strong opinions on this. And, for me, the lower in stakes you're playing, the more you want to lean towards maximizing your chip EV so that you can move up in stakes. If you're already at the highest stakes possible, then you maximize for your hourly. But there's the middle ground, right? There are some people that are like, you know what? I want to stay at 20s or 10s or whatever forever because I'm very
Hmm.
risk averse and I don't really care about moving up in stakes and I'm making enough money as it is at these stakes. So I want to maximize my hourly at the lower stakes. So now it comes to like, what are your personal goals? That is, we're looking at Scott's picture there. It's incredible. So what are your personal goals in that case, right? So if, for example, you're someone that is using poker just to kind of pay the bills and just kind of get by, and you're like, you know what? I don't really care too much about moving up in stakes. I just want to maximize my hourly at 10s or 20s or 50s or whatever it may be. That's going to become a personality decision. So my answer to does personality influence this decision? I would say a very firm yes. A very firm yes on that one. You got to really audit your personality. Some people are very risk averse. Some people are very risky. Um, so it matters a lot. If you're somebody that's kind of risk averse, you don't really want to take too much variance, right? You might get comfortable at like $10 reg speeds or $20 reg speeds and be like, you know what? That's where I want to be, and I'm going to maximize my hourly there. So be it. If you're one of those guys, then maximize your hourly there. Or if you're someone that is playing 10 and 20s and you have these huge aspirations, you're like, I want to play at the highest stakes, I want to battle all the regs, I want to do this and that, then you're going to have to want to maximize for chip EV so that you can move up in stakes, right? You want to maximize and play the best you can at each level. So I think this is very, very dependent on the human and the personality. What are your thoughts, Scott? What do you
I
think?
tend to agree. I tend to agree. As much as it would be optimal to sort of eradicate risk aversion, it's just a very natural part of someone's personality, and I think for most people, they're not going to be able to overcome it. Um, so the only thing I'll add to what you said there actually is just your life situation, and this is something that's come up in topic with quite a few players that I've worked with over the years, where they'll be, say, six tabling at the tens or the 20s in spins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And six tabling tens or 20s is going to provide a decent hourly. Nothing, it's hard to have like a home run hourly at those stakes, but you can certainly make a decent living in most countries. The question then becomes, what are your aspirations? And so if your aspirations are, I want to move up stakes, which to be honest, I'd honestly say close to 99% of the players that I've worked with have said, I'd like to move up. They see themselves
Or
moving
some
up
of
to the
them
highest
might
stake.
might say that, but are kind of comfortable at the stakes that they're playing in. So they might
It,
say, yes, in theory, I want to move up in stakes, but like I also want to just like make a lot of money right now. You know what I mean? Like I just want to make a lot of money right now, and I don't have time to work on my chip EV and study and get my chip EV up and move up and yada yada
sure.
yada. So there's that as well too. Like it's curious to hear like what's the advice to someone like
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, you've really got to look deep within yourself whether you actually want to move up the stakes or not, or whether you're happy where you are. And I'm not casting aspersions in any way here. If you're happy remaining at the lower stakes, then by all means continue there and
Mm-hmm.
hone your strategy to beat those stakes and play as many tables as you can. Basically, make as much money as you can right now. Um, If you genuinely have aspirations of moving up, though, then the one thing I will say is this: immediately cut your table count. This, in my opinion, it's not just my opinion. I think it's a shared opinion. Jack, you, me, Tomo, other people. One of, if not the biggest leaks of low stakes players is playing too many tables. Because in order to move up, smashing as many tables as possible is not going to allow you to move up. It might build your bankroll. If you're working on your own, if you're not staked, for example, then yeah, you can build your bankroll and you can take a shot. But there's a fairly decent chance that if you're a mass tabler, you're not going to be the best player, and therefore taking a shot at the next stake up is not actually going to work out well for you. If you don't have to worry about bankroll, so for example, if you're on Team 651, it really comes down to, like, can you afford to sacrifice the here and now for future gains? So are you willing or are you able to prioritize deferred gratification? If you're in a situation where poker is your income, you're playing 10s, 20s, even 50s, and it's your income and you need this money here and now, you absolutely cannot do without it. You have to pay the bills, you have, a partner, you have kids, then by all means, you have to continue making that money and your progression is going to be more slow. If you're in a situation where you can actually afford to live on a little bit less money, I would strongly recommend to everyone, cut your table count, cut your grinding time, in fact. So minimize the hours that you grind, minimize the tables that you play. You want every decision that you make at the tables to be conscious. So you don't want any situations where you're autopiloting. You definitely don't want any situations where you're misclicking or you're missing hands or you're timing out. If you're ever going into reviews and you're saying, I don't remember playing this hand, you're not optimizing your path to the top. If all possible, bring that table count right down, play as well as you possibly can, think through every hand, go through the full process of ranging your opponents, thinking about what would happen at the equilibrium. Is there any potential exploits that you could make in this spot? Those are the kind of things that, particularly for a lower stake player, usually reside in your conscious competence, right? So we've often referenced these 4 stages of competence. That's unconscious incompetence, that's the things that you don't know that you don't know. Conscious incompetence, that's the things you know you don't know. Conscious competence, which is where a lot of low stakes players are, where you know a fair amount about the game, but you have to think actively about it while you're playing. And then there's the apex, which is unconscious competence, which means you are so familiar with these aspects of the game, right, and theoretical concepts, for example, that you don't even have to think about them, they just automatically happen. And most high stakes players will be at the top of the pyramid there, where the knowledge that they have is in their unconscious competence. They can just reel it out without having to think about it. If Jack gets 3-bet, for example, in any of his games, he doesn't have to sit there and think about his entire defending range, and he doesn't have to think necessarily about his opponent's entire 3-betting range. That is just going to happen automatically. He's basically going to know whether he should defend the hand that he has or not without having to use any mental energy. And that, of course, means that he's able to play more tables and he's able to play for a longer period of time. If you're lower down on that ladder and you have to actively think about these things, that's going to take time while you're grinding. It's going to take energy, because we burn through a lot of energy playing poker just through all the complex thought processes. And it's the kind of thing that if you've got 6 tables, you're not going to be able to make those computations. And that's what gets overlooked, I think, by a lot of low stakes players, is they do a bit of study, they jump in the games, they're trying to think as much as they possibly can, but they simply don't have the time and the energy to do so. So, to conclude, what I'm saying here is, most of the players that I've watched rise from the low stakes to the high stakes, particularly in short periods of time, and to be honest, at the start of my career, Jack, I'd include myself in this as well. I don't even remember, but I used to play very cautious, careful 1 to 2 tables at the start of my career. I was always focused on getting as high as I could and establishing myself there before I increased my table count. It did mean I went a couple of years at a much lower hourly. If I'd have 5 or 6 tables at lower stakes, I would have made more money in those 2 years. But I wanted to get to the top of the pyramid and stay there for the duration of my whole career. If you're in a position where you can do that, that's what most of the best players I've ever met did at the start of their career.
Right. Like, I do want to push back on that point, but make your second point first, just for debate's purpose. But yeah, make the second point and then.
Yeah, sure. That's pretty, to be honest, that's pretty much it. The first point, I think, is enough. If you can, in my opinion, if you can defer gratification till a later date, really prioritize studying and playing as well as you possibly can, and your rise to the top will be, well, your rise through the stakes is a little more likely, and it will also be a little more expedient. You said you wanted to push back. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
I just want to push back just for debates purpose, just for people watching and stuff. So